Hello, everybody, and welcome to a highlight reel original production. This is the Behind the Numbers series, March edition. So sit back, relax, and enjoy.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to part three of the Behind the Numbers series. The Behind the Numbers series covers all of my information that I have basically been going over in relation to the Fitbit, for those who aren't aware, and I'll have a little breakdown of what we've got: steps, calories, water intake, distance travelled, active minutes, all that kind of good stuff. If you haven't seen the January edition and the February edition, then be sure to check out the videos in the playlist, as they detail from the start of the year, from the start of the 365 project, what we have been doing in relation to getting these steps in and trying to get weight loss and monitoring and tracking all of this over the months. So we've got the breakdowns for January and for February. So now it's time for the March Behind the Numbers series episode. So without any further ado, we shall get straight into it and we'll see what kind of output we've been having for all of these various little aspects, and see if this is, following trends, and if this is something that people can take on board and use for themselves in way of getting their own sort of plans into action. Then that's all good. Absolutely no problems with that whatsoever. Feel free to kind of, mimic the sort of output that I've been putting, because I've definitely been seeing results, as you will have seen if you've caught those previous videos or been following the 365 project. But without further ado, we will get into it, and we'll see how we stack up for March, all things considered. We'll see where we end up at the end of it all. So we'll get straight into it and see how we do. Okay, so stepwise then for March. Similar to February, we kind of didn't have the first day of the month fall on the first day of the week. So similar to that, we've had to kind of start on the first day of the week, first full week of March. So in this instance, it goes from the 5th of March on all of these aspects. But from the 5th of March to the 11th of March, we had 106,547 steps, which is where you want to be. Looking at previous months, everywhere above sort of 100,000 steps is good weight loss, good sort of place you want to be. Breakdown of that being from Monday, 13,300 steps, Tuesday, 12,450, Wednesday, 22,470, Thursday, 14,800, Friday, 13,700, Saturday, 15,900, and Sunday, 13,600. Again, I've not really added the tens and single steps there just for speed, but it's around about that figure. Obviously, my step targets that I had set myself was 11,000 steps a day, so all of those days were above target. And the highlight of that week was a 22,472 step day. That looks like it was on a Wednesday as well, so definitely put the effort in and put the work in for that day. That was like nearly double my target, so very happy with that. Very happy indeed. Moving on to the second week, so Monday being the 12th of March up until the 18th, we have 13,350 steps on the Monday, 13,100 on the Tuesday, 15,800 on the Wednesday, 13,600 on the Thursday, 11,700 on Friday, Saturday 12,500, Sunday 12,200, bringing a total for that week of 92,491 steps. So there is a little bit of a reduction from the previous week, to the tune of around 14,000 steps. So it's a day's worth of stepping. The high total there for that week was again on the Wednesday, 15,864 steps. All of the days were above the 11,000 target, but clearly that Wednesday from the previous week, that 22,000 is the difference maker for this week, because it's about 11,000 difference. So not too bad, but again a slight reduction. If you want to be seeing good results, you want to be over 100,000. I think that's the safe zone for me. I think that's what I've kind of figured out. as we've been going on. Now, for those following the 365 project videos and those who obviously sort of know me and know what's been going on, during March I've suffered a knee injury because of the beast from the east. Remember the snow? So yeah, I ended up basically having to rehab and sort of be couch bound, not really do any stepping because the pain was quite severe. Initially it got to the point where I thought I would be able to sort of walk it off kind of thing, and that's why that last sort of week there, they were just basically whatever I could get over the 11,000 as much as possible for that day. But this week, starting on the 19th of March up until the 25th of March, we have 5,159 on the Monday, 3,100 Tuesday, 6,000 steps exactly on the Wednesday, 6,400 Thursday, 2,750 Friday, 5,850 Saturday, 1,550 on the Sunday. So that week's total steps was 30,854, which is one of the lowest outputs I've ever had since the start of January. I was a little bit torn in my mind because I really didn't want to have to stop. Once you've been in the sort of rhythm and the routine of things, and you know, you push yourself through the snow and the hurricane winds and the freezing temperatures, you push it, you do it, you get your steps in, but then you hurt yourself. And yeah, I mean, I had to do it, I had to rest, I couldn't carry on. The pain was just too severe, unfortunately, so a much lower step output that week. And the final week, which doesn't include the Sunday because the Sunday was the 1st of April, but we've got from the 26th to the 31st. Monday was 7,500 steps, Tuesday 3,600 steps, Wednesday 3,600 steps, Thursday 2,600 steps, Friday 1,700, Saturday 2,300, and nothing on the Sunday because that's going to be April. So we're looking at a step output for that week minus Sunday of 21,600 approximately. So again, it's another reduction from the previous week being 30,854. But again, unfortunately, I was nursing an injured knee, and it really was mentally and physically draining. Having been walking around and doing the Fitbit thing for quite a long time, to then have to basically do nothing at all because it hurt too much was hurting me in the leg and hurting me up here, you know. It's difficult to deprogram yourself to do nothing when you've been actively doing everything you can leading up until that point. It was tough. It was very tough, I'm not going to lie. Very tough, but I mean, you can only do what you can only do. If I was to push on and try and carry on going, I think I would have probably ended up in a wheelchair. So, and that's not trying to be dramatic, that's just basically how I felt. I couldn't see there was any kind of end in sight, and as far as I was concerned, I was on the shelf, which was going to ruin everything. It was going to ruin 365 project videos, it was going to ruin weight loss targets, it was going to ruin everything. But you just have to persevere with it. If you're not fit enough to do it, you're not fit enough to do it. But that's the summary of the step counts for March. So it actually went down quite a lot, you know. Normally these steps were pretty high, but this occasion, poorly leg. Unfortunately, I had to concede defeat on that one. So here we go. That's the steps wrapped up for March. Okay, so moving on to weight loss then. This is the main target of the whole 365 project in its entirety, really. I've seen excellent results last year when I was doing the Fitbit thing, and thought to myself, what would happen if I could do that for a year? So the 365 project was born, and every Monday is weigh day, we jump on the scales, and The first instance of a weigh day in March was on the 5th of March, and the weight for that weigh-in was 16 stone 4 pounds, which when compared to the previous weigh-in, I know this was of the February sort of weight loss target, but just to compare, the last weigh-in prior to that was 16 stone 8, so that was a 4 pound loss, which was very good. But as we sort of covered there, the first 2 weeks of March were kind of business as usual, so to speak, and it was only towards the end where things got a bit gnarly. Which moves us on to the second week, the 12th of March. The Monday weigh-in there was telling us it was 16 stone 2 pounds, so that was a 2 pound loss from the previous week. Again, steps and everything was going well, active minutes, everything was going well, water intake was going well. 16 stone was my first major milestone target since picking this back up from January, because obviously over Christmas and whatnot weight got put on. This was all covered in the previous videos. So I had to kind of claw my way back from where I was in January, and then my first proper target was 16 stone. And I was 16 pound 2 stone on that Monday. So my sort of outlook was, we're going to go for it, we're going to try our hardest, and we're going to see if we can get past 16 stone. Which brings us on to the third weigh-in, which is the 19th of March, and that was 16 stone exactly. So my first major milestone target was hit, and that was awesome. Good stuff. Very happy, very, very happy. Very happy, and it's just hard work. The hard work that you put in, that you set yourself, you get yourself into your routine, and you think, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. It all works. It works. I mean, you cannot argue with the numbers. You really can't. Especially how it makes you feel, how it makes you kind of feel mentally as well as physically. Really, really happy that I hit that target. But then obviously things start to go a little south because of the knee pain, which we had. However, looking at the final weigh-in for March, which was on the 26th, we had 15 stone 12 pounds. So it was another 2 pound loss for the final weigh-in of March, which 15 stone and 12, if you look at the first one we did, that was 16 stone and 4 pounds. Rough mathematics tells me that's what, a 6 pound drop for that, and then another 2, so yeah, 6 pound loss overall for March. A loss is a loss, you know, that's what we want. We want to see the weight go down. We want to get it as low as we can to being healthy and not looking like you're ill. And yeah, we achieved it. We achieved that goal. Brilliant. And it just gave me further motivation, further drive to want to carry on going, to want to get that done. And yeah, yeah, it was all positive. There was nothing really negative happening in relation to weight loss for the month of March, even though I had a significant step reduction. I think what I was doing eating wise and drinking plenty of fluids has definitely kept that kind of going on a little bit to kind of compensate for the lack of steps. So overall, March, weight loss every time. You cannot argue. You cannot argue. And if you do want to argue, you weren't putting enough work in. So, you know, hard work pays off. That's what everybody knows that. And it certainly paid off for me in March. So overall, very, very happy indeed. Okay, so the next section we're looking at now is calories in. So I had a 1800 calorie daily target limit, I don't know which way you want to call it. Basically try to keep it as 1800 being the top limit. If I was going over, then okay, yeah, you go over, but try and balance that out with maybe being a little bit less on one of the other days of the week, so to speak. 1800 was the limit, as I say there. So going from the first week of March that we have, from the 5th to the 11th, on average, my calories in was 1,831 calories, so it's just over the top end limit, which I was fine with. I know you can go a little bit over 1,800 because obviously that's not your sort of guideline amount of calories, but if you're in deficit, i.e. your calories in is less than your calories out, then it's going to be a weight loss situation surely, because it's just science, isn't it? It's science and maths. Science and maths. It all comes back down to science and maths. But I mean, looking at that week, Wednesday, I don't know what it is about Wednesdays. Wednesdays seem to be the day, but I had a high of 4,047. Again, these are as accurate as possible. All items and food and stuff that I'm eating are getting logged, but sometimes you can scan barcodes and sometimes you just got to kind of put it in manually, weighing stuff out and that kind of thing. But Wednesday was 4,047 calories, which is a lot. It's nearly, well, it's over double my target, so I obviously overindulged that day. But I mean, putting that into some kind of perspective, the Sunday, again, it's not what you're promoting, but I did 697 calories on Sunday, which isn't enough, but it's going to balance it out overall for that week, which I believe is what's happened there. So first week 1,831, and then moving into week 2, we had a calories average for that week of 2,050 calories, which is an increase over the last week. This was kind of playing on my mind a bit because I was thinking I'm eating more, and then eventually I ended up walking less because of being injured. I didn't want it to then make me start piling the weight back on, which was my primal fear, because I've worked so hard to get to 16 stone, or want to get to 16 stone, you know, putting the work in, and then I started eating again. So, I mean, you've got to kind of weigh it out. You've got to kind of, it's how much you want it, you know, how much do you want to see results? If you're just going to sit and fill your face all week and not do much, it's going to go the other way, isn't it? So 2,050 calories was that week's average, and it's starting to creep up, which was a concern. The following week we have there, which is from the 19th to the 25th of March, we got an average calories intake of 2,353, which is again another increase. As you can see, I was a little bit not being able to walk anywhere, and sort of definitely reducing that significantly has then meant that my hands needed to fill my face with food. Don't know why. I mean, with losing 4 stone roughly since last summer, when I first started doing all these kind of things, it wasn't so much of an issue for me, I don't think. I didn't want to gain weight, but in the situation I found myself, it was going to be inevitable, so I've been eating more. I may not have been disclosing that on the 365 project videos, but here we are. It all comes out in the wash, right? Highest calorie in for that week was on the Friday, which was 2,738, and yeah, they were all roughly around that or above. There was one that was below that, 1,433. That was on the Sunday. But what can you do? I mean, I don't know. It's a double-edged sword. It's all very taxing on the brain, especially if you're into it pretty like dedicated and seriously, you know. So the final calories in week, we had an average for that week of 2,039. However, that does include the 1st of April, which was 2,467. I'm not in a position to do quick maths, but yeah, I would have said it would have been higher than 1,800 had that day not been included as well. So overall, it started well, it started good, but then yeah, it's definitely steadily increased, and it was playing on my mind because I thought to myself, well, I'm definitely going to start putting weight on, and I didn't want that. I just didn't want that to happen. But as you saw with the weight loss, it was all pretty good. I mean, it all kept on coming off, and it was all going in the right direction, even though the steps had dropped by, you're talking like 60, 70,000, 80,000 steps maybe, you know. Wasn't ideal. Definitely wasn't ideal. But you've got to learn from these things. This is all a learning process, you know. It's if you don't learn, you'll make the mistakes of the past and the results won't come, and then it's going to derail you mentally. So you've got to make sure that you're prepared at all times to see it through. Take it day by day if you have to, week by week, month by month, however you think it's going to work best for you, but just don't overindulge when you're eating. That's my advice, definitely, if you want to see weight loss results, you know. Definitely. Okay, so we've done calories in. Now we obviously hit the calories out side of things to see if the burn was greater than the intake, making the deficit, making the weight loss, or at least that's the plan. So starting from the first week of March, from the 5th of March to the 11th, we had a calorie burn total of 26,697. When you compare that to the last week of February, which obviously has those crossover days in there, couple of days, we had 27,383, so it was a slight reduction from the week before and last week of February, but it's about the same. It's about the same kind of figure. Maybe what, I don't know how far it's off there. You're talking a couple of hundred calories. It's doing a couple of star jumps for 10 minutes or something, you know. But yeah, 26,697 for week 1. Every day barring one day, I hit my target of 3,500 calories burnt. It was the Tuesday of that week was 3,432, but everywhere else was over that, and there was one that was 4,628, which coincides with that Wednesday when I did that long 22,000 step day. So more calories burnt, more steps. It's all good. It's all good. Moving on to week 2. We have from the 12th to the 18th a weekly calorie burn total of 25,776. So it is about 1,000 calories less this week, and that is reflected in the fact that only 4 days out of this week I managed to get my target burn figure in. The last 3 days were under, not by a lot, by only a couple hundred, but they were still under. Overall, that's going to equate to the reason why, you know, I was about 1,000 calories less for that week. But again, this coincides with me hurting myself. So looking at the following week to that, we have from the 19th to the 25th a calorie burn total of 20,659. It's 5,000 calories less than the previous week burnt, and not one single day out of that week did I hit my target. The lowest of those days was on the Sunday, which was 2,418. The highest figure being just over 3,000, like 3,051. So I was 500 calories off hitting the target for that day. It stands to reason, as you saw with the steps. I mean, I was 60,000 plus 70,000 plus steps less, and basically was couch-bound nursing an injury. So it's to be expected. Reduced calories, definitely. I was in a bit of a bad place when I was thinking about all this kind of stuff. It was playing on my mind, and I was thinking, I'm not stepping as much, I'm eating more, I'm not being as active. It's all gonna go back up again, you know, the whole weight thing. It's all gonna start going in the opposite direction. And it was tough. It was very tough. It was something that I had to kind of definitely mentally be prepared for and kind of think, well, if it does do this, then it does it. I mean, the results are a direct sort of, you know, indicator of what has happened the previous week. If I've been eating more and stepping less, then it stands to reason that it's going to slow right down, if not start going up. But yeah, 20,000 calories for that week. And then the final week, again, this is sort of counting the 1st of April, but again, I'm not going to do the quick maths to sort of figure that out. So from the 26th to the 1st, we had 21,707 calories. So it's an increase from the previous week by about 1,000. But I mean, it's still lower, much lower than what has kind of went before it, especially in February. We can look at that. February was like 27,000, 26,000, 29,000, 28,000. So to be at the point where it's like 20, 21,000, it's a quite significant drop in calorie burn. Got to keep active, people. But when you, I was begging people, doctors, hospitals, people everywhere. I was like, please give me a crutch. It got to the point where I couldn't even like just walk into the kitchen. I was just like, yep, that definitely hurts. So I was wanting to kind of tough it out and do the walks still and keep it all going that way. But it got to the point where I was literally either marooned wherever I ended up stopping because I couldn't physically walk anymore because there was no way I could physically be comfortable doing that. It just hurt. There was no easy way of walking. And the calories out was a direct hit on that. I just really didn't want it to kind of spiral out of control. I was very concerned that the hard work was all going to get undone. But I mean, as we covered there with the weight loss, I didn't really feel any too detrimental effects of that. Not in March, at least, anyway. So that's my numbers for March around the calories out section. Okay, so we've got to the next section, which is an important section, possibly underrated in how important it is, in fairness, and that is water intake. Something I've definitely learnt in my experience of doing this kind of thing. Water is very important. Water's probably as important as what you eat and how active you are. If you're not drinking enough water, it's not going to amplify your results as much as you want. I definitely think it has a factor, definitely has a part to play in getting the goals that you want in relation to weight loss. So, looking at this then for March, let me just get that there. Here we go. So yeah, we have got, starting from the 5th of March, average for the week, going from the 5th to the 11th there, 2,071 millilitres. Now, I reduced my milliliter target, my water target, from 2,500 millilitres to 2,000 millilitres. I was trying to drink as much as I could at work and at home when it was 2,500, but it just got to the point where I literally felt like I was drinking as much water as I could as late on in the day to try and hit these figures, hit these targets, and I wasn't doing it. I was struggling, so I had reduced it to 2,000 millilitres. It's only 500 mils, one of these. It's only one of these less, but it makes a big difference. And looking at that week, there was only one day when I didn't really hit that target. That was the Tuesday. That was 1,500 millilitres. But every other day we've got Monday 2,000, Wednesday 2,500, Thursday 2,000, Friday 2,500, and the weekend were both 2,000 millilitres. So there's only that one day really when I didn't hit the target. But overall, the average was 2,071 millilitres for that week, which is awesome. Moving on to week 2, from the 12th to the 18th. The average milliliter intake for that week was 1,857 millilitres. So it has went down from last week. And looking at this, we have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday were 2,000 millilitres. Friday was 1,000 millilitres, and Saturday, Sunday was 2,000 millilitres. So yeah, compared to the previous week, where there were a couple of days I got over 2,000 millilitres, it just seemed like 2,000 was the target, so to speak, for this week. Although it did bring the overall average down from 2,071 to 1,857, so slight reduction. You've got to take factors into account. It's easy to say, yeah, just drink loads of water, but mental states, physical states, stuff like that. Sometimes you just don't want to do these things, you know. Is kind of where we're going on that one. But the third week, we have from the 19th to the 25th of March, milliliter average consumption 1,892. So that has slightly gone up from the previous week, but it is still below my target average. Top day of that week being the Monday, which is 2,250 millilitres, and we had a low of 1,500 on the Saturday and the Wednesday respectively. Everything else was 2,000 millilitres. So it is a slight increase from the previous week, ever so slightly. We're talking like 40 millilitres. That's not a lot. But it's good to keep that average as high or as close as possible to the target. The second that starts dropping, you know, further and further and further, that's when problems happen. And if anything I've learned, it's drink as much as you can, as practically as you can. You know, you don't want to just be drinking 6 litres of water on a morning, because then it's probably going to ruin your schedule for the rest of the day, having multiple toilet breaks and that kind of thing. But definitely, if you can, keep it as frequent and as much as possible. It definitely helps in relation to losing weight, 100%. The final week of March, which again includes the 1st of April Sunday, we had an average consumption for that week of 1,892. So again, similar, well, looking at that, it's the same number as the week before. There is a difference in the daily intakes, in that Tuesday was the lowest day, 1,250 millilitres. I didn't drink a lot that day. Didn't drink a lot, but every other day was 2,000 millilitres, so I hit my target then. Yeah, I'm happy with kind of where that was overall for the month. Could have been a bit more, but as we've kind of covered previously there, I was rehabbing an injury and I was in a very naughty place mentally. In fact, I had a person I know who watches the channel and watches the videos sort of reach out to me and send me a message of encouragement, which might not seem like a lot. Just, you know, send someone a message, you know, just tell them to keep the chin up and all that kind of thing, and the good times will come. But I think I needed it, you know. I think I needed that little bit of a supportive comment kind of thing. It was getting to me, the fact that I couldn't be as active as I wanted to, and that it just seemed like all the plans were being derailed. So yeah, I appreciate the reach out from well, you know who you are, and yeah, it was good for me. It was a nice little sort of booster for me. It's definitely helped me get my mind back on track to where I need to be, because if I was going to go the way I was going, it might have all just sort of ended up getting thrown in the bin. The 365 project, all that kind of stuff. But I feel that I'm now in a position where, as of recording, the knee's better. I can slap it about and it doesn't hurt. I can walk about, it doesn't hurt. And it's just a case of easing myself back into it. I'm kind of gradually increasing my step output every day. And yeah, the water definitely helps. As you can see, get as much of it into you as you can, because it all helps. It all helps. Is active time or active minutes, where the Fitbit detects, or you can input it manually. You say I'm going for a run, you can tell it, or it's that clever that it kind of picks it up. If you go cycling, swimming, running, that kind of thing, you can pick that up and sort of start recording you and say, right, yeah, they're being active. So this all counts. This all goes in towards, you know, your general sort of results at the end of the week when it comes to weigh day. If you've had a really active week, there's a good chance that the weight's going to go down. If you've not been so active and not been so disciplined and dedicated to the cause, then there's a good chance that it could go up. And we don't want that, or at least I don't want that. So looking at the breakdown of active minutes for March, starting from the 5th of March to the 11th, we had 978 active minutes, which is up there. I mean, that's pretty good. The last week of February was 982, so you're talking like 4 minutes less than it was in the end of February. So the biggest minutes of that week was the Wednesday. That Wednesday, lethal. 220 minutes of active time. You're looking at 128 was Monday, 115 Tuesday, 135 Thursday, 123 Friday, 141 Saturday, and 116 on the Sunday. All of which were above my target. I've got green stars going down here. We like green stars. Green stars are good. 978 was that first week, which seems about right. Seems about ballpark where I am, or where I have been over the last couple of months. Definitely. Second week of March, going from the 12th to the 18th, we had, again, 7 green stars. Happy days. We had 801 minutes of active time. So it took a little bit of a dip, but again, this was me having a bad leg and basically trying to be a stubborn man and walk off my injury, which needed resting. So we just got in minimum of 11,000 for that week. Didn't do any major crazy walks, didn't do anything like that. Well, I wasn't in a position to. I physically couldn't actually do it. But the largest amount of active minutes for that particular week was on the Monday, which was 130 minutes of active time. Saturday was the least on 98. But by this point, I think I was gone up here. I thought to myself, this is it now. No more walking, no more 365 projects. Weight's going to start going up. I'm going to start being unhealthy again. And it was bad. It was bad times. But if you're not able to do it, you're not able to do it. And I wasn't able to do it, which is reflected in the following week. So if we go to the third week, which is the 19th to the 25th, had 177 active minutes. So what's that? Roughly, if we're saying 200, it's more than 4 times the previous week less than what I'd done that week. On Sunday of that week, I had 0 minutes of active time. I literally didn't move at all. It was a be on the couch job and lump it, basically. The highest amount of active minutes that week was 47 minutes. And I mean, it's not even an hour. It's looking at that, everything on all these other ones. The lowest from the week before was 98 minutes. But at least that's like an hour and a half. The week before that, I mean, it's over 100 minutes. I'm used to doing like at least an hour and a half, 2 hours worth of walking around. But by this point, I was ruined. Physically, my knee had gone. I was in a lot of pain. And was deep into the rehabilitation program that I needed to be on. So only 177 active minutes for that week. Whew, not ideal. But then the final week, there was a glimmer of hope. In that, one day out of that week, I hit my target, which was 66 minutes for that particular day. Overall, for that week, we had 239 minutes. If we're taking off the 1st of April, that was only 14 minutes. So like 225 active minutes, which is about 50-ish more than what I had done the previous week, which was 177. The lowest of that week, of the final week, taken off that Sunday, was the Tuesday, which was 16 minutes. 16 minutes, it's nothing. I must have walked to the shop and back, or maybe walked to someone's and back, you know what I mean? It wasn't really anything. It wasn't any of these 6-mile walks that you do. It wasn't anything like that. It was really bad, but as you can see, that one day there gave me a glimmer of hope. 66 minutes, and I must have realised, or, come to the realisation that the knee was healing, the pain was reducing, and the activity could start to go up. It's kind of the where I am now as of recording. We're sort of kind of on the up. I'm not doing as much as I was, but I'm definitely doing more than like 2,000 steps, 3,000 steps, which was kind of ballparkish figure from when I was bad. Yeah, overall, I wasn't really happy. But I mean, like I said, you cannot get steps in a wheelchair if you've got a severe knee injury, which was the way I thought I was going, you know. But overall, a much lower output than I really wanted, and well, luckily I managed to dodge a bullet in that the weight seemed to continue to come off all throughout March. So yeah, it was good. It was good in the fact that my results didn't take a hit that I thought they were going to, but bad in the fact that I felt like I was like in a straitjacket strapped to the couch and I couldn't move. But yeah, active minutes, it's all kind of starting to go up now. It's all starting to get a bit more. So we will definitely find ourselves back on the path that we were before we got injured. Okay, so we're going to look at the mileage that we've covered over March now. It's going to be a bit up and down because we've had downtime this month, but we're going to see what we've managed to churn out and see how this stacks up overall for our goals. So, first week of March, going from the 5th to the 11th, we covered a distance of 45.38 miles. All of those days hit target, got green stars there. The highest, you guessed it, was Wednesday. That 22,000 step day equated to 9.65 miles. So very good there, very good indeed. Looking at this, the lowest day that I had, 77873, was the Tuesday, 5.29 miles. So the shortest distance that I'd travelled that week was over 5 miles of walk time, so to speak. Not too shabby really. I used to begrudge having to like walk to the shop or walk places back in the day. Ask anyone who knows me, they would have said that he doesn't walk about like. But now looking at that, 5 miles minimum, you can't argue. 5 miles might be the magic number for making sure that you're keeping that burn up, keeping that activity high, and yeah, getting the results that we want. But breaking that down, 5.7 miles, 5.2 miles, 9.6, 6.2, 5.8, 6.7 and 5.7 miles going from Monday to Sunday. All of which hit my target. So that was good. But this is where it starts to go down. So the second week from the 12th to the 18th, one day we didn't hit the green star. We only got 6 out of 7 this time. But the amount we had for that week of distance travelled was 38.77 miles. So it's around 7 miles-ish less than the week before. The highest day out of those days was Wednesday, which was 6.78 miles. The Friday was 4.87, and that was the day that I didn't hit target. But going through the rest of those days, we had 5.6 miles on the Monday. Tuesday was 5.5, Wednesday 6.7, Thursday 5.6, Friday 4.8, Saturday 5.1, and Sunday 5.1, equating to 38.77 miles. Looks as though that big walk that I did the week before has boosted me up a little bit more. So yeah, you can't really grumble at it. It looks about the same. Looking at previous weeks, I mean, we're talking 55, 35, 44 miles. So to hit the first week of 45 miles was about right. But then, yeah, as we know, the injury occurred and 38.77 miles was all I could manage that second week. But that was the week where I was basically walking on an injured leg and doing further damage, I believe. So I had to come to the realisation that I had to stop, which is reflected in the next week, which is the 19th of March up until the 25th of March. And the total for that week was 11.74 miles, so massive reduction there. I mean, looking at not the previous week, but the one at the start of March, that's like nearly 30 miles less. 30 miles is a lot when you're walking. The highlight of that week being the Thursday, which was 2.58 miles. None of these days got a green star because I was on the couch. But the Monday was 1.9 miles, Tuesday 1.1, Wednesday 2.2, Thursday 2.5, Friday 0.9 miles, Saturday 2.3, Sunday 0.5 miles. I basically had to rest. I couldn't do what I needed to do. My body wouldn't allow me to do it. I was popping painkillers like you wouldn't believe. It wasn't working. It really wasn't. But then, even further from that week, the following week, final week of March, was 9.31 miles. And the highest output for that week of miles wise, well, it was a joint to be fair. It was the Tuesday and the Sunday was 1.35 miles. Now this is why I was getting concerned, 40 miles less walking, all this active time, distance, steps, everything took a massive hit, and I was just adamant that the weight was going to start piling back on, and that was my number one fear. I definitely didn't want that to happen. Not after the hard work that I've been putting in, getting myself to this position. Yeah, so fat 9.31 miles for that final week, but that is including the 1st of April, which is 1.35 miles. So you're looking at maybe it's like 7.8 actually overall. Practically nothing, literally nothing. Yeah, it was tough, as I mentioned before. Mainly just to not go out because, even just doing things like going upstairs, I was trying to I'll need to grab my phone charger, for example, and I'll just try and run upstairs and then realise, oh yeah, you can't really go upstairs. And then that would knock me back a couple of days because it would just get to the point where the pain was kind of more constant, Yeah, 9.31 miles. Doesn't sound like a lot, but especially not in comparison to the previous weeks and months that have went by, and yeah, it wasn't. It wasn't a lot at all. It really wasn't. But you've got to persevere, don't you? And now that March is over and we're into April, we can try and boost these figures up as much as possible. Definitely, because you need to get back on the horse, don't you? That's what they say. Get back on the horse. Metaphorical horses, eh? And that's the March Behind the Numbers episode for you. I hope that you have enjoyed it. And if you did find it enjoyable and interesting and informative and, information that you want to take on board and digest and formulate your own plan, all the power to you. If you like to do that kind of thing, feel free. I'm doing this now just as a way to try and help others, try and gauge if they think, what's involved in getting to the results that I personally am achieving. It's all there for you now. Yeah, do it. You want to get involved. You've probably got the right time because the weather's about to pick up definitely, and you're just going to get out more, aren't you? You're going to get out. You're going to be more active. It's just science and maths. But yeah, if you've enjoyed the video, feel free to share the content and leave a like on there. That would be great. And if you want to reach out and ask me any questions, or if there's anything that there's burning issues that you want to address, or something that you might want to know or ask me about, feel free to leave a comment in the comment section. Feel free to reach out to me on social media. It's been probably one of the hardest months overall due to this injury. It was something that I didn't expect. When I started, I kind of joked about saying, if I don't hit my target, I'll have to do some kind of mad forfeit. But then I quickly got in there that unless I was medically unable to actually do anything, then that was the only exception. And that's kind of what's happened. I didn't want to stop. I really, really didn't want to stop. But I had to. Otherwise, I would have been out for significantly longer. And then that would have had a worse effect on my mental state. But we're in April now, so we're looking for an increase in all of these kind of figures and the numbers, the distance, the steps, the mileage, the active time, the water intake, the calories burnt, everything. It's going to go up, and hopefully it's going to be in conjunction with beautiful weather, and we're going to get the 365 project videos back up and running. Thank you for the people who have been staying in touch and continuing to watch those videos. Obviously, I understand that the content was a bit dry and the fact that I wasn't doing any other walking and anything like that, so I do appreciate that. It shows me that, you know, people are still sort of interested and still want to keep in touch and see how I'm getting on, and that kind of support definitely helps me. So in summary, yeah, it's definitely been a tough month, March, but I do think that we're over the worst of it. And yeah, one more thing to say, two more things to say, really, I suppose. Thank you very much for watching, and keep it real. Signing out.